It's at Public Works. That is. Well, it's kind of nicer than that. I think it's something like that. Yeah, they'll be in there till 9. We have a couple different small rooms that we could use, and it would be super simple to set up in there. Okay, well, everybody who's coming is here, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Oh, as soon as Marissa's ready.
Last time you had talked about maybe printing off the paper scores. Is that?
Did you get this? I do have stuff to hand out, but I want to do it in order. Did you get?
What's right there?
Yeah, there's right there. It's got the, but I didn't print out the minutes.
I printed out minutes.
I lost a lot of stuff, it seems
I
like.
printed everything out.
I know that I read them because I approved them from,
Want to refer to those for any reason?
thank you.
Refresh your memory. COVID.
Well, I know that I actually did, before I left, Amber sent them to me.
I didn't see anything that was earth-shaking.
Okay.
Just discussing the future. Action. The action thing.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate it. So I'm going to call the meeting of Library Advisory Board on Tuesday, October 17th to order. We have 2 people missing tonight, Chris Bangs, the council liaison, and Luke Bitter let me know that he could not make it tonight. First item on the agenda is the approval of the 2023 minutes. Does anybody have any questions about them? So does somebody want to make a motion to approve them?
I move we approve the minutes. I second.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. So going through the agenda items, so I am going to add one thing to this, and that's Jennifer and Krista.
Christy.
Christy.
Right. Yeah, you're good.
We're at the Cultivating Canby meeting. I was hoping that you guys would talk about that at some point in time during the agenda. You didn't make it. Well, Christy did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you were there. Yeah.
Oh, Amy made it too.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So no council liaison report, board chair report. I went on vacation for over 2 weeks and I caught COVID and I have been sick. But really and truly is telling somebody that I have taken more naps in the past month than I have in the past 10 years. And I haven't taken my nap today, but I'm here. So I don't really have any board chair report. I am really slow at getting back to stuff. I am going to apologize. I do have some handouts and I'm doing what I hate people doing to me. I'm handing out stuff at the very last minute, but it is what it is. So there's no board chair report. Board member report. Well, let's go down the ones is anything happening with LDAC?
I have not had any.
They just moved it off of the agenda again.
Oh.
Okay, and there's no teen liaison report. So let's, and I do have a quick Friends of the Canby Public Library report. They had a big book sale at Swan Island Dahlias the Sunday of Labor Day weekend, but I have not heard how much money was made. Have you, Linda?
If I have, I've already forgotten.
Yeah, and there's, so there's a fundraiser this Friday night there's a spaghetti dinner and bingo at Willamette Valley Country Club, and they've arranged it so that a lot of the proceeds go to the Friends of the Library. This is an event that, even though it's at a private country club, that supporters of the Friends can attend. I don't know the details of that, so if anybody is interested, let me know, and I will call to the club and find out what the details are. So it starts at 5 o'clock, and I think there's bingo first, and then there's the dinner, then there's a dessert dash. Anyways, it's supposed to make money for the Friends.
Anybody who wants to come just needs to just call Willamette Valley's regular phone number, press 0, you'll get the receptionist and tell her what you need.
Yeah,
And
that it's
she'll take care of it.
$30 for, is that right? $30
It's
for adults?
$30, and I'm sure there'll
Less
be
for
a,
children.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's less for children.
I'm sure it is less for children, but I have
Yeah.
no children. And, and then I'm sure there'll be a charge for the bingo cards,
Yes, I think it's
But it's
$5 for
usually minimal.
3 cards or something like that. I have not heard if they plan to do the Christmas lights again this year. The Christmas lights contest. I know that there's going to be a big Christmas book sale. So, but that's kind of all I know from the Friends. I have reached out to the chair of the Friends, and we're going to start doing kind of reciprocating reports. So she will actually send me a report on what the Friends are doing, and I will send her a report so she can read it at the Friends board meetings as well. So that will be, I think, a very, very good thing. So that one's done. Oh, we'd like to take care of these real fast. So, I did print this off. I had printed it off quite a while ago. It's about the whole cultivating Canby thing. And I'm still very upset that the library was totally ignored by this organization, even though it's part of the city. I don't know why. We weren't told about this, but. So, one of you start with kind of your thoughts and comments on the meeting that some of us missed.
Sure. So let's see. I initially heard about the Cultivating Candy stuff, for lack of a better word, through the email that Lois sent out. And so I completed the survey, but then also decided to go in person. It was at the police station, which, I mean, just initially I felt like that might be off-putting to some folks that may want to go and get information. But it is what it is. It was actually a really beautiful space. But we broke up into groups and spoke about the different, and I wish I would have brought the actual like line items, but we spoke about the different goals that the city is trying to strategically plan around. Some of them included things, and I'm not going to get the language correct, but it's around like, you know, urban development and housing, creating sort of a sense of pride in the community and keeping that sort of like small town feeling while still deciding how we're going to grow. And so we had a pretty lengthy conversation. Each table had a representative from the city that took lots and lots of notes. And then at the end, we all shared back, and it's just really interesting that sometimes the differences in opinions. So I am I feel like I've been here a long time, like 8 years feels like a long time, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's not. So some of my perspectives were very different than those of folks that have been here much longer term. It sounds like that there's going to be several more opportunities to gather more information and kind of follow the process along the road. I was just checking my calendar. It looks like the next one is November 14th at 6 p.m. And I think that was kind of some of my takeaways is just kind of the differing of where folks are at and what we all think growth could look like here.
Yeah, I was there too.
You went? Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure I was.
Yeah. right.
Well,
been a
I
while.
remember going to a very nice meeting where there were very nice people facilitating it. The people I was sitting with all were library patrons. And so there was a lot of conversation about the library and what was available and what was not available at this point at the library. And I thought that was very helpful because the library didn't get included in the survey, which was unfortunate. Because I do think, particularly with regard to how many hours we're able to stay open, we're in a financial jam that needs to be fixed. So, but anyway, I thought it was really useful. I thought it was better than sometimes those things tend to be kind of pro forma. We've already made our minds up. And would you like to tell us how smart we were?
Did anyone answer the question as to why the library was not included in the survey?
That question was not asked at the meeting.
There was no format to do that. It
Okay.
really
Yeah.
wasn't. The man that was leading our small group, thank you. The man that was leading our small group, he's the leader of the team that's working this. And our group had some kind of negative things to say about overgrowth too soon and concerns. Let's call that concerns. And he said, look, the state of Oregon mandates that you will be growing by, I can't remember, I had it written down. You can either be part of the plan or sit back and be part of the people complaining. And I thought it kind of stuck like a thorn, but I thought that was good advice, really, because so we do need to get active. We do need to get involved. We should all go to the next meeting.
Yes,
And
yeah. Yeah, I've written it down, November 14th, 6 PM. Is it at the police station again?
I didn't remember
I don't
if I
have
wrote
it
that part down. Let me double check. I think it's,
anything down.
is
It'll-
the police station is on Third Avenue?
Yes.
Yeah.
1175? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I put the address, but I didn't put the actual location.
Okay.
So it sounds like, yes, that is the same place.
Okay, well,
I've never
everybody,
been there either. That was actually a nice room.
Yeah, it totally was.
it's
Yeah.
a beautiful station.
Yes,
is.
yeah, absolutely. There was, plenty of space and it worked out well. Yeah, I think that there absolutely wasn't a forum to give feedback like that, but there also wasn't a lot of feedback on how the group of folks that are helping to make the plans were decided upon. So I don't think that I know how
Yeah.
you were chosen and you were not. So that's still up in the
I
air.
felt a little bit like they already have the plan. They're
Right.
trying to get us on board.
Right, yeah.
That's what it really felt like.
Yeah. A little bit tricky.
So I'm not sure I was very comfortable with that because I had done the survey. I felt like they just used the survey to make their points, which maybe they're good. I would like to be part of that process, I guess.
Yeah, I do feel like maybe you missed a piece of it. Like
Yes.
they were like, this is the first meeting for everyone, and it's like, but it feels like something happened before that. Like
We
now
missed
we're just
that
like,
one.
was there a first meeting? that I missed?
What everybody missed was that there was a capital T on the. It was the plan.
Yes.
And yeah, of course, the people aren't mugs. They didn't come to that meeting without
Yes.
a pretty clear idea of what they wanted to do.
Well, they could be run out of town on a
But
rail.
it's pretty important, I think, when they're at the planning stage to be part of the planning. And it makes no difference whether the library was included in the survey or not. The fact is that the library is a pretty important public service. And that needs to keep coming up in the discussions that they have, lest somebody miss that point.
Yes,
Because we
yeah.
can't do what we need to do for the community until we get financing on a level that makes those things possible. And then until we get staffing to a level that makes the things possible that we need. So none of those things can happen without budget increases.
That's right. What? Okay. Um, So thank you so much for the people who went, and I have it, we'll put it on my calendar to go to the next one. I don't think I'm planning any trips anyplace.
Could you repeat that date again? I didn't-
November 14th
November 14th.
6
okay.
p.m.
At the police.
at the police station.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I like the fact that everybody went to different tables, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's the
worked out
way to,
Organically. Mhm.
okay, thank you so much. I thank you for the update because I really was very interested in hearing that. And I realize that there is, that Chris Bangs isn't here, but I did hear, and I don't know the name of that Sean Varwick's position has been filled. I don't know who it is. I should look it up. You do? Oh,
Okay.
okay. Do we know anything about this person?
Well, he owns North Willamette Tax Services. Works in town,
We use another tax service in town.
he actually stopped by, I work for we do the first Thursdays.
Yes.
For our company, and he stopped by and chatted with me, and that's how I learned that, but as a newly appointed city councilor, he was out and about checking out events in the city, and I was pretty impressed with that. He pretty seriously, he got out and about.
The other thing I wanted to let people know is that I was invited to meet with, there's a meeting where a bunch of people are invited to meet with the candidates for the city manager position. And I'd have to look at my phone to tell you the date. I think it's like November 9th. It's from 8 till 12, and then there's a lunch from 12 to 1. So I was invited to that, and I will attend that because I do think that our next city manager needs to be better. So, you'll be there, Melissa. So is Eileen, is that her name, Eileen? Did she apply for the job as well? Oh, good.
They said that they're not going to be telling us the 4 candidates' names until we bring it back to you, but
Okay, okay. So I also wanted to let people know about that I will be going to that. And so I'll be doing a report on that. Marissa and I can do a report on that on our next meeting, which, as everybody remembers, is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving rather than the Tuesday before, because who wants to meet when we're busy making pies?
Yeah,
So I
that's
think
right.
that's November 28th or something like that. Don't,
Yes.
is it? Yeah. So just wanted to I had to remind myself of that today. I was looking at my calendar going, okay, I've forgotten this, I've forgotten this. So the next meeting is actually Tuesday, November the 28th. Marissa, why don't you do your report and then I'll talk about my stuff.
Are you done with board reports for now? Are you
Oh.
getting back to it?
Oh, actually, I'm not done with board reports because I was going to ask Jennifer, but did you have something, Rich?
Just a verbal.
Okay.
Just a quick verbal.
Go ahead.
Nothing to really show. Just a continuing saga with, we started off as a group, well, spearheaded by Lois, about coming up with an advisory information for, well, kind of a handout or a brochure for new board members to get them up to speed on the library itself, policies, procedures, history, and so on and so forth. So I kind of jumped in on the history side of things because I kind of like to deal with that. And this is just recent information, just briefly. And if everybody remembers kind of where we started, then we're kind of in the middle of all this and giving Lois input and back and forth. So anyway, I haven't done anything by email because I just haven't put it together, but I got materials and last Thursday, I went down to the museum, the railroad car, which is basically the Historical Society, and got into their files and found a lot of stuff from basically the main person that gave us a lot of information, got me laughing. It was Myra Weston, who was kind of the self-appointed historian for Canby, not appointed by city council, just on her own as a volunteer historian. and goes back to so much information. And just briefly, actually, she's got records, or at least some type of history that goes back to 1880 for Canby as the first recognition, not of a library, just of, it says here, Mrs. Wade and Mrs. Lee bought quote unquote storybooks for children to read with the promise they would take care of them and return them when finished reading. So it was kind of like almost like a neighborhood thing in 1880. And at some point, and there's a nice little handout that I was given, and he picks this us all free, and gave a whole history of the movement of the library from the initial stages, from, really small town to where we are today.
Yeah.
Well, except it goes from up until 1989, which was the last stop before here, which was the Ace Hardware store that was converted to the library over there. Was that Holly? Yeah.
Yeah,
Holly,
Holly,
yeah, across from Wake Park.
yeah, Costa
Yeah.
Rica Park. So anyway, that was fun to get into that. And the other thing is I just pick up a lot of information. I was going to try to consolidate that, but two things which I found remarkable that, and I forgot about this, I've been kind of here for almost 50 years, but there's a booklet that Beth Saul actually spearheaded for the entire city. And I don't know if you see, if we've got this on file, Marissa, we've got this here somewhere, but apparently there's a stack of these at the railroad car.
Oh.
Somewhere in the back room, because I says, oh, it's just $5. She says, don't worry about that, just, you're on the board or whatever. But it's got everything really very, very complete, and gives you all the buildings and so on and so forth. And there was another handout on the railroad station itself, which was obviously on the railroad tracks, and then it was moved at some point. So there's a history of the railroad station also. So you're welcome to. I just don't have any. I just was getting information. I said, well, maybe the board was interested in something like that. If you want to go down personally and pick it up, they have very limited hours. It's only Thursday through Sunday from 1 to 4 o'clock.
Oh.
It's a volunteer-based organization, obviously. So, but it's interesting. And I hadn't. I'm embarrassed to say I hadn't even been in there. I don't remember the last time I was in there. Probably when it was in, in the railroad tracks or something, before they moved it. But anyway, that's just to share with information, and I'll relate that to you and the board and so forth and go through.
I do think it's really important
Yeah.
that we, even if it's just a bullet timeline,
yeah.
so that we show that
This is what I was talking about.
we have
the
history
bullets.
going back to the 1880s. For the,
Yeah,
know,
we have it.
the Canby
Right,
citizens,
until-
residents have been that committed to getting
Yeah,
books.
it's a nice, warm feeling,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, and I think that that's
Yeah.
really kind of an important piece of data
Yeah.
for us to be included
Yeah.
in the new library advisory board member orientation, because it is important data. That we have history. We're not just
Right.
like, even though we come and go, the library is bigger than all of us, and it supersedes all of us and all the things that we do, because we have this history, and it's our responsibility to carry it the next few steps along the way. So thank you, Rick. I have been so focused on all the things I haven't done.
Yeah.
And that, I actually thought about that as kind of like, dang, I haven't done anything on the, it's kind of like, I don't have time to think about that right now. I'm having a hard enough time juggling my memory issues. So, but thank you.
It's a work in
yes,
progress.
Yes, it is a work in progress. And I always intended it to be a work in progress. It will never be final and complete. It will always be subject to what's going on, it should be always cumulative,
There, in the old library building, there was a showcase that had pictures of
Mhm.
the people who'd worked at the library in times gone past. I don't know what happened to those. Marissa, maybe you know.
I don't know, I do remember that when we moved to this building, Amanda, who was the HR/assistant city administrator, did not want to move a lot of people's items to here, so I don't know where they live. It's possible there's somewhere upstairs, but I
Yeah, yeah.
Missed the map.
yeah, you and a million other people. I'm sure it's somewhere.
So Anybody have any other questions for Rick?
Hmm.
Jennifer, you want to tell us what's going on with the
I have
chamber?
two brief highlights from the chamber. The chamber attended. It's been a lot of the community, the groundbreaking for the new building at the fairgrounds last week.
Oh,
Moving into that, that was pretty exciting. That's been a long time in the making. And then the Belinda Goody, the executive director of the chamber, has been really focused since she's been here a brief time. I think it's been 6 months now. One of the things she did is she was working with the Oregon City Chamber to find out about the business recovery funds. So there was a fund created, I believe, federal dollars to help small businesses in our community when COVID hit. And she wanted an accounting of how all the funds were spent and what was going on with that program. So that program is still out there, and it's transitioned from the Business Recovery Center to the Business Resource Center. And they're offering business help in the form of grants or classes or things to promote and support businesses in our community. And so if anyone needs that type of assistance, they can go to Business Recovery Center or Business Resource Center. So it's part of the county, but there's a part that is specific to Canby. Also go to the chamber website and find out more about that.
well, that's good news.
Those are
Yeah.
the highlights.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Anything other than talking about the report to the council, does anybody else? Oh, I'm gonna skip and go down and talk about the action items, the donations process policy. This came up while I was on vacation, and the way I read our charter is that we're responsible for coming up with a policy on that. So, and this would be like if people wanted to donate art, which has come up in the past and has always been a very touchy subject because art is very subjective. And then when the person wanted to donate $1,000 and then wanted their name up here, I think we all agreed that the name up here was for the original and that we would have to, but we do owe the public a policy on this. It's just that right now we have to deal with it. I know in the past when Irene was the library director, she strongly encouraged people to give to either the Friends or to the foundation and not to the library. But that was because of something that happened many, many, many years ago where somebody made a donation to the library and the city sat on the money for several months and pissed Irene off royally, and she refused to let people give money to the library after that. Rick Robinson resolved that issue, but to his credit, but we don't really have anything, in the past, we always sent people to the Friends and we don't have a way of recognizing people. And, and I actually talked with Irene about this, like, what about, putting an end cap on the shelves? She goes, what if people don't like the type of literature on, the type of material on that particular shelf? She had all kinds of reasons, like, but what about? And it's like, okay, that was a stupid idea, Lois. So I don't know, maybe the best thing to do is to spend some time doing research on what other libraries do.
I don't know about other libraries, but one of the things I've seen done, we have the reader board out there. So we could, once a year or twice a year, put a list of all the people who have donated to the Friends of the Foundation or the library,
Oh,
and just let it run for.
yeah, like at the end of the year, run 2023 donors to the library, the Friends and the foundation.
Sure. And, and you could let people know that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I think that's an inexpensive way to handle it. And you have to donate every year if you don't get your name put there. Theaters do that with their books,
Yeah.
you have a place in the back for last year's donors.
Yeah.
So, I think we could do
Colleges
that.
send out a monthly, a yearly donor list, and that goes out to the community. And that would be another opportunity to advertise the library.
It's true.
Yeah, I actually, I spoke to Greg Williams from the Oregon City Library. And he mentioned some similar things. He said that they strongly encourage folks to donate through the Friends or the Foundation. In the past, they've tried to accommodate kind of that middle ground, and he said that it's extremely complicated. Like if somebody donates something, he said, for example, the big desk that they have up front was like purchased and donated, and so it had a plaque on it. But now they're getting a new desk, and so does that plaque shift to the new desk? Because that actually didn't happen that way. He said that it's a lot of communicating with donors about, we actually need to use this space, for example, which has your name above it for a different, we have a different need now. And what does that look like if the person says, I don't agree with that need, right? Like that really puts the library in a pickle. And then I got an email back from the Wilsonville folks, and they said, again, really strongly encouraging those two funds, either the foundation or the Friends, and that sometimes they'll make exceptions for like audio books or things like that, but they did not have a consistent way of recognizing folks that really worked overall.
Well, could we just make that our policies, that donations need to be made to the Friends or the Foundation? Makes it simple,
It does.
you know?
Did we land there last time, or were we still doing research?
I think that was the general consensus, but we were curious if somebody had already like invented the wheel and we could be like, well, that really sounds great, we'll take it too. But I honestly didn't hear anything that was different from that. Westland was a little harder to get in touch with, so I just did some looking through their website, and it's very much like the foundation is their core and how they would like to get their donations.
Did we not have a citizen that inquired about this?
They wanted to donate
want-
money to the library, but they want to be on that board, and I think everybody agreed that that board was for the people who donated to build this
Right, did
library.
we sign off on that then?
Yes, we agreed on that.
Okay,
It's just that we,
good.
and I don't
Just
remember
refresh
anything that
my
happened
memory,
before
that's
COVID,
all.
so.
There's
Okay.
currently too, one of the previous artists, who was a photographer, he passed away, but his daughter wanted to donate all of his pictures that he had recently had in the library. And so it's been kind of on many to-do lists to figure out what to do with that. She wants to donate those, but we don't have a policy. And because it's not like a monetary thing, it's just a little bit
Yeah.
different.
That was the thing that I brought up last meeting, because that was a real issue with, in the old library, we had an enormous painting, oil painting, which the librarian at that time didn't wish to hang. And so, and it becomes kind of a sticky wicket. I mean, and you don't know what to do with it. So I kind of think we have a policy that says if you give this to us, we will dispose of it as we see fit. I really do, because otherwise, I mean, we don't want to be in the business of storing paintings, but it would be nice to have the paintings if we were to have an auction, a party and an auction or something. That'd be really nice to.
With like donated items is when a lot of, when the person who wants to donate gets really specific, like, I only want this to be used for audiobooks, I only want this to be
Yeah.
used here. It kind of does create a problem for
Yeah.
staff if that's not really where we need that.
That's right.
I don't know if you guys remember this giant. I don't know if you remember, there's a big tree over here that was in a pot.
Yes,
It moves from place to place, that was donated, and the tree
Yes.
has actually outgrown the pot, the roots are too deep, so it's just having a bunch of issues and we don't know what to do. So, that's
Yeah.
kind of the
Wow.
issue.
yeah.
I feel like this happens a lot. Like, I mean, I'm from the nonprofit world, and like folks have really great intentions about why they're donating things, and it means a lot to them. I think that it's the difference in education around like how that can really either, you know, create an issue, or how we can then not actually fund things that are really helpful to the community. I know this is like a really like Pollyanna thing to say, but like I wonder if there's a way to boost that education in the community and be like, we're not doing this because we don't love you all and like want your beautiful things, but that it makes it difficult for us to do these things that we know you're gonna love and the community would really enjoy, because we actually need to be able to use our expertise and decide where that either money goes.
Yeah, if people really want to donate something, they should sell it and give the money. But I think that a lot of people do it because they don't want the hassle of selling something.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's like, I mean, a lot of the books that are donated to the Friends, I mean, some of them are so disgusting. I mean, they immediately go in the garbage can, and then you have to go run and wash your hands. I mean, there's ones that smell like dog pee, there's ones that smell like cat pee, there's ones that are just so full of dust and mold and mildew that your allergies go crazy, because they don't want to deal with it. You know, they think this book that's 40 years old and falling apart is just such a, you know, it was one of their childhood treasures. It's just kind of like, you know, people go straight in the garbage, you know.
What's beautiful though was special to someone who loved the library, and the book
Yes.
was someone with a wonderful long life so that the books could turn yellow and smelly.
Yeah.
But they loved the library and they thought of the library. And so there's a thought behind the donation, even if it doesn't sometimes feel like it. And I get it, because when I worked in a school, people were trying to donate their encyclopedias, but they were 20 years old.
Yeah.
So we couldn't take them because they were outdated, but that person who had paid for those Encyclopedia Britannicas from the door-to-door salesman wanted to give the school or education or the library. And it was, the thought is beautiful, but how do you transmit the thought into something that's usable for the whole community?
And it's hard telling people that something, you know, like encyclopedias no longer have any value. The times have changed.
Right.
It's the internet now, you know.
And they paid a ton.
I know.
for door salesmen.
We never had those because we couldn't afford them. They were very expensive. Yeah, it's, anyways, we do need to work on that I think it's something that if you look at our charter, we need to own, developing a policy on that. So, Christy, thank you for remembering that.
Absolutely,
We're-
it's very interesting.
Specifically though, the
Topic at hand is the items that would be donated.
Both-
So
both
the
money and items.
So the money you would put in the policy, Friends or the foundation.
Right.
But the items, it's the library that makes the decision on the items, is that correct?
Yes, but we're responsible. We create policies for the library as
Right.
well.
So we're creating a policy.
If we had a
Items.
policy that said any item that is donated to the library can be used in any way for the benefit of the library, that solves it. I mean, with the paintings that we're hanging, it would be completely lovely to hang them and offer them for sale. And hang them in the library and
Yeah.
offer them for
That's the
sale.
tricky part is, you know, with this specific artist, I don't remember how many there are, like 15 or something, and so.
We may
it's
never
also a
sell.
Space issue, so even if we don't want to keep them all, what do we do with them?
Yeah.
Would be the job.
No, that's exactly right.
Well, I think you said that, you know, that the library can dispose of them, use them or dispose of them as
Yes.
they see fit,
Well,
you know.
that
depending-
be
because-
used for the benefit of the library.
Right.
You know, and that's general enough that you don't get in the business of, we're not in the business of storing paintings. So we don't have a room to do that, one thing.
But then people are donating to the library, which is a not-for-profit.
Mhm.
So are they wanting a tax deduction from that? Like, are we? having to provide- So there's,
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And the way you solve that is, at least in the bookstore,
I'm not sure if we're still doing it this way, but my sense of it has always been that you give people a receipt that says you donated 17 hardbacks and we sold them for whatever it was we sold them for. So that is the value of them to the, and yeah, you're right. But we can, tax receipts are easy.
Yeah, so is the library a not-for-profit? I mean, it's a city's organization. It doesn't qualify as
No, but the Friends and
the
the
friend, so they'd have to donate
foundation
it to
are
the Friends of the
not-for-profit.
Foundation so
Yeah,
that
They're
they could.
501c3s.
Nothing would be donated
To the library.
per se, it would be donated to the foundation. But yeah,
Okay,
that's why the policy needs to be created. We can't handle that side of it.
right. Because of tax purposes, for tax reasons. For tax reasons is a good overall broad thing. There's three more things. Marissa's report, the calendar, which Marissa handed out.
Yeah.
And then my stuff on the presentation to city council. I have some data and some written stuff to hand out too. Marissa, do you want to take it from there? And then I'll end up the meeting with my stuff.
So the calendar, I just wanted to give out to everybody. I will fix that November date, but I just wanted you guys to look at this and decide if there's any meetings that you guys are not going to want to do that might fall around a holiday of some sort. I just
So
wanted to.
there is no December meeting. The meeting on November 28th is a November-December meeting. We're having one meeting for the 2 months.
So we're not meeting on the 19th.
If there's anything else you guys want me to include on that calendar,
Okay.
and then for the director's report, you guys already know that we do a bi-monthly report that goes to the mayor and council. So basically, I think what I'm gonna start doing is I'm going to separate that report into each month and then report back to everything that we've been doing. So this was for September. Those were all the programs that we had going on in the month of September. We have a lot more starting right now in October and on. And we've had really good turnout for the children's programming, teen, and then not so much, and then adult. Terry's still kind of growing her adult programming following, so I think there's gonna be some really down the road. And then I just wanted to put some stats in here, so you'll see we had a little over 7,000 people coming into the library in September. Made 119 new library cards, added almost 500 items to the collection, filled about 4,500 holds, had 3,400 Libby downloads.
Yeah.
That is actually something that we're going to be talking about at my next director's meeting about putting more money in that pot. There's been a lot more. Yeah. Yeah. We don't want to constantly be telling people, all of a sudden you're going to Washington County cards because they have really awesome catalogs. We want people to be able to do those. Total search is just how many items get checked out, about 20,000. And then total items checked in usually offsets the total search. So that's just some of the statistics. As far as personnel goes, we had our new 20-hour library assistant start, Stephen. He was an on-call here, so you might recognize him already. He's really good at his job, and he does have an MLS too, so I do anticipate moving it up, whether it's here or elsewhere, I'm not sure. Do not want to lose it. You guys already know Danny resigned. His last day was October 4th, and then I came on the 5th. So I'm really excited to be here. And if you guys need anything from me, just know that I will get any information that you possibly need. And I will be at all of these meetings. And then as far as just some of the projects we have going on, I'm working on the state report. I am waiting for one more statistic before I can actually turn that in. And then once all of that information is gathered, I'll be able to report out really more recent information as far as what all the other libraries are doing in the state. I don't know if you guys have heard about our public services desk, but we're basically going to be combining both desks into one desk. It's going to be the information desk, but it's not going to be called that anymore. It's going to be called the public services desk. So there will be a staff member on each side, and each staff member can do all accounts, all information, all reference, you can actually go check it out right now. The back station has already been set up. We're not using it yet, but we just wanted to make sure we had a fight with it on the first. And we're really excited about that. That was kind of been a long planned project that we're trying to be able to move forward with. So I think that'll actually help us kind of service the public a little bit easier. We're in the process of talking to the Link Network office because we're going to be replacing about half of our public computers this fiscal year and another half following fiscal year. As you know, everything is getting more expensive. So I say almost half of the computers each year because it might be a little less than that, but we'll keep working on that. Retro processing of picture books. This was a very long project that we actually just burned through. So if you go and look at the picture book section, the labels usually have like a green overlay and it had the first three letters of the author's last name. Now it has a P in the full last name, which has made things super easy to find now for our Christmas volunteers, our shelters, and then also our staff and patrons, of course. And then coming soon, we have our winter reading program that's going to start. And that's going to be an all ages program where usually we're doing just the adult side of things, but we want to get everyone involved this year. So the plan is to
Terrific.
Yeah, for sure.
and there will be some raffles and drawings and all that good stuff. So that's everything that's coming up and everything that we did in September. And then next month, I'll share with you everything that happened in October, which I don't know if you've talked to any staff members, but it's been feeling like extra busy lately. I mean, all day, every day, we have like a line, which is really fun to see, especially because I feel like we had a lot of regulars that stopped coming after the COVID closure, and now we have a lot of new regulars and some new locals coming back. So there's just a mixture of a lot of people who are really excited for the library, participating in a lot of the programming and whatnot. So that's what's going on and what actually happened in September, and I anticipate an activity next month.
Great, thank you, Marissa. Does anybody have any specific questions for Marissa?
Just have one question. What's the status of a possible Sunday opening situation? Is it still a budget and staffing issue?
Say this.
I mean, be honest, just be totally honest, whatever.
Yeah, so historically, we've lost several positions. We had a full-time bilingual librarian that we don't have anymore, so we lost that position. And then the previous director got rid of our page positions too, which was about 4 positions that equal to about 1.5 FTE. So we're down a lot of different positions and we're not able to hire anymore right now. I don't know if you listened to the city council meeting that happened last week, but there was a budget presentation that was done before the council meeting in a special session. And essentially what came from that was that we're not in like a really bad situation as far as budget goes, but because there's a lot of interims here, including the city administrator, including me, they basically said that we're not going to be hiring for the time being until we get more answers as to what is the state of the city.
So I can help answer that question. So after the board meeting last time, when I was feeling very discouraged about the hours and things like that, I went to see Eileen, the interim city administrator, and she was very encouraging about you guys should make a presentation to the city council that basically says we need more money to operate. And I'm paraphrasing here, but that don't expect anything to happen before the next fiscal year, which starts in July. And so that, thank you, it's a great segue to, so I have been working on a draft of the State of the Library Canby Advisory Board presentation. It's very much a draft, and what it's missing is data. And so I did, before I left, I went through all this budget data going back years. The problem is that every year they present the budget data in like a slightly different way and made it very frustrating. And you have, the City of Canby budget is hundreds of pages long, and it was really awful, but this is kind of what I got in terms of head count, and I just wanted to hand out a bunch of data, and then the next one is, you know, Chris set out that information, that's one report. No, what's one? Send the whole thing.
Gotcha.
So I printed that out well, because what I worked,
All together.
No.
This is yours.
what, I worked on some words today, and I'm going to hand that out and pass that on to Marissa. That's the whole thing. This is for Jennifer, and this is for Rick. And we need to figure, and I was going to ask if we could sit down and have a working committee meeting sometime in November. We could have a working committee meeting. I found out the rules about it. We just have to give a week's notice to the public, and then we can have a working committee meeting. And then the last thing I have is my words that are a draft, and they are very much a draft, but there was one thing in particular I wanted to talk about tonight on the first page. And Linda's already seen hers, but Linda lives next door to me, so she gets everything early. This, when I say it's a draft, and I mean a draft, I'm gonna hand that one down to Marissa, and then this one is for, because what I would like feedback on is people's, last year we were very frugal on information about people, and this year I want to be a lot more, you want another one, Linda?
No, I just want my old one back.
Okay.
It has my notes on it.
I want to, here you go.
Thank you.
I want to say more about the credentials that we have on this board. Rick, you just said you've lived in Canby for over 50 years. You've also been on other advisory boards. I don't know what you did as a profession. You know, I mean, I do have an MBA. I ran the HR department for a company, you know, and Linda was not just an English teacher, but she was chair of the English department, that type of thing. I
Just
want
the writing department.
the writing department, but I want more.
Let me
And
read.
I mean, Jennifer, I put down that you worked at the high school, and you're a longtime Canby resident. Amy, and I want your credentials on here. I want everybody's credentials on here. I want to give them information that says, hey, we are a serious bunch of people. You know, this isn't just we're not just some people you picked off the street corner. We have some serious credentials, and I actually would like to make sure that our city council knows that we're not a bunch of numbskulls. We actually have a lot of credentials. And Christy, I know the least about you. I know that you put together the Pride thing and stuff like that. So I would like people to be thinking about that. And then the words honestly and truly are, it's just, the problem with the words I put down is that I didn't have a lot of the data, and I really think that the data should drive the words. So it's kind of,
Framework.
I threw stuff, you know, this is like you throw spaghetti on the wall and see if it sticks. That's what this is. It's all it is. Please don't take this as, you know, nobody went up on the mountain with God and wrote this in stone. This is really, truly just me not feeling well, throwing down a bunch of stuff. And it's really meant to be, we need to get together and think about what can we show. And Marissa did provide like some of the information on the back of this card. It has, and this is from 21,
22, that's the most recent data, yeah.
But do some research and see what we can get off the, sometimes there's stuff on the Clackamas County website. What we don't know is like, for the population, is that the population of the town, or is that the population of the library service area? There's still a whole lot of information, but I do think that we need to think about how we can use data to drive the conversation. I mean, that we don't have data because we couldn't do a survey. So we don't have data on what people are asking for. But we do have data like on foot traffic and things like that. So how can we use data that we do have to try to infer certain things? So does that kind of sound like an idea of just everybody? I put stuff down so that maybe, because sometimes when I used to work with managers, especially writing performance reviews, if they would look at a blank form and they would panic. And if you give people words, it tends to get them, oh yeah, well, no, that's not the right word. This is a better word, that type of thing. So I tend to give people words and let them rewrite stuff, you know. And Linda was, you know, in charge of writing, so she will always correct me, but that's okay. I don't really care what corrections are made. I care that we get together as a group and figure out the message and how to use data to drive the message, and then the things maybe we don't have data about. And basic guys, we're gonna have to go in and ask for money. We are going to have to go in, and so what's the best way? I've given you one sample of what I would say. I mean, I ran a budget for a large organization. I know how to estimate what people are gonna cost and what to do and stuff like that. Took economics. I understand that, you know, the basic, how do you figure out what's the best use of scarce resources? But I don't know what the best methodology for dealing with the city council is. So anybody has any ideas? Rick, you've been on advisory boards a long time in the city of Canby and stuff like that. So this is just meant to get us started. But in that vein, do you think we could get together for an advisory board meeting? For just a working session? Just call a working session and only work on this?
I think that's a great idea.
I'd love to, yeah.
So,
I'm fine.
I can also get you any data.
yeah, and I think that, you know, so I would like you to take a look at this too and think of, oh, I have data that could be pulled together this way to infer this, because we don't know what kind of data you have. So it's hard to ask questions when we don't know what we're talking about.
The state report that we have to turn in every year, I've done like 5 of them at this point. It's a lot of data, but because we get all of that together and we submit it to the state, I get that data every year from all the libraries in Oregon. And so maybe one of the things we could do is we could look at some of the stats from pre-COVID, compare those to COVID and then after COVID and see where we're at.
So do you think we could do a working session on either the 7th or the 14th, which is a Tuesday, again at this time, because, you know, some of us are retired, but some people are working.
Sorry to say the
Yeah,
day.
I can do the 7th, I cannot do the 14th. We have our Canby Pride Board meeting.
So that would be Tuesday, November the 7th.
It's election day, was that?
I'm good.
Is there an election?
Well, but we vote by mail here, Linda.
Mr. Google told me that. Yeah, yeah, I can do the 7th.
7th?
Yeah.
Anytime on 7th is fine.
Okay, well, we'd have to do it at 5:30 because both Amy and
Okay.
Jennifer and Christy, do you work? At a,
I mean, technically, no, it's just
Right.
mostly at a Pride. I
Right.
mean, it's a new nonprofit, so it's a lot of work.
yes, it's a lot of work.
Not getting
But-
paid
You're
yet.
allowed to take it.
Yes.
And I can make a random meeting during the workday, that works for me, so if we rather in an afternoon, I could probably make that.
Would people rather, no, Amy, what
I
time?
could not.
Yeah.
What
And
time?
Chris could not. Is
Yeah.
he going to be there? for
No,
that?
he's not going to be there.
Oh.
This is just a working session.
Okay.
What-
Earliest, we have our staff meeting on Tuesday night also.
Oh.
And so we didn't have one today, so I was here with a few minutes to spare, but
It's normally tough.
it's really tough.
What about Wednesday, the 8th?
Earlier would be better then on a Wednesday.
Like
Yeah, I could do
4, 3:30, 4?
I can't leave work till 3:45 is the earliest.
So 4:15.
Yes.
Do we want to make sure, like, I mean, Luke would be part of this as well? Is
Um,
that a thing, or, I mean?
But if we
'cause
did it at
3:40 Yeah,
4:15,
school's out.
school's out.
Okay, cool.
You know,
Wednesday, the
How
8th.
long would this go?
I don't like to keep meetings longer than an hour because both
Okay.
Linda and I get antsy over long meetings. So, and to keep the, the powers that be happy, if people have stuff they want to send me in advance so that I can add it to a document or want me to rearrange parts of it, send it to me via email and I will accumulate the changes and stuff like that. And if we have, Christy wants this one paragraph one way and Jennifer wants it, I'll put both in and then the group can decide which, and that gives, this gives Marissa time to finish her project and let us take a look at the data that we could use then to help us make our case.
I will pull as much data as I can together and make it look interesting.
So
We make it 4:30.
4:30, 4:30, 5:30,
4:30,
4:30.
yes.
Okay,
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It's at 5:30 on Wednesday. And where are we meeting?
Coming at the library.
At the library.
Yeah, we will, because we'll have to announce this a week in advance. So we will have to get a meeting room and we will send out, so we have to send out something by November 1st. And-
Can we get the data of computer usage? Yes,
During the later hours that happened pre-COVID? Like, can we get different
To compare.
facts? Who did we serve when we were open longer that we're not serving right now?
Well,
What were they doing?
the number one thing would be information on the teen programs. And the good part about bringing up the teen programs is that when we had those teen suicides a few years back, I was in the same meetings as Tracy Hensley, who is a city council, and I have no compunction whatsoever about calling her out and saying, Tracy, you and I were in the same meetings where we talked about how important it was to provide a safe place for our teenagers. I would delight in being able to do that because she isn't going to be able to say a damn thing, because she was there. She was making this case for we needed to provide a safe place for our teenagers.
Marissa?
Yes. So I will see how much data I can get from pre-COVID time when we were open from 6 to 8. I will personally tell you, since I was a closer most nights during that period, if we didn't have a program, there was almost nobody here. If we did have a program, people would be in the room. Computers were not used very much. I'm not gonna say they weren't ever used, but the 6 to 7 hour was definitely busier. The 7 to 8 hour was busier. But again, that was pre-COVID. Things could be totally different now. We might have a bunch of people who want to be here.
Well, Christy was the one who pointed out that, trying to put together a new non-for-profit and having meetings in the evening, because some people do have full-time jobs, where do you meet in Canby where you don't have to go to a restaurant and pay for something? This is the only free place to meet, and so, usage of meeting rooms and stuff like that would be really good.
The other statistic that I think would be useful is what the total number of people who came to programs. I noticed on the calendar that the programs are almost always almost all of them for the little kids. So, but it would be interesting to point that out, that one of the reasons we don't have numbers for older people is that we don't have people to run those programs.
I will absolutely get as much data as
So-
I can. I know I have a lot of it already somewhere.
Yeah, and I think if you look back at Irene's reports the last 2 years she was here, I know we had all the statistics in those reports.
Yeah, she was the data diva.
Yeah, she was. She was all over the numbers.
Okay, so I've given you what information that I have. I tried to stick some ideas down for a draft, but there's still a lot of ways to go. And I really think that getting data should drive the discussion, because that's really and truly, I can sit there and say anything I want. And it's hard to squiggle out from underneath data. People can, oh, well, this and oh, well, that. But when you have hard data, it kind of holds them in place.
And just as a new person to the board, I realize this is a sort of a report that happens annually, right, with the city council, but is there any conversation afterwards? Like, we present this information, how do we know if they do anything with it? Or is there any accountability piece there where you're like, we talked about this and what are you doing?
In the past, when I have been there, and obviously I presented last year, so first of all, we didn't present for a couple of years during COVID. But before COVID, I went to some of the Library Advisory Board presentations because I was on the Friends board, and Irene asked as many people as possible to come. There's usually like a comment section, oh, you guys are doing a great job, oh, you should look at this, or you should look at that, but there's not really any good engagement. And that's why at the very last page, and I don't know, I mean, we tend to be fairly brief, but is it worth having you and Luke make comments, like Luke, the things he's missed out on because for 3 years, there hasn't been any team programs. Is it worth having you talk about the difficulty of trying to put together a not-for-profit in Canby without having meeting, free meeting rooms? So that's just, I'm throwing ideas out. Is it worth having for me to talk less, me and Linda to talk less, and to bring up other people? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
What would happen if we put a papered wall up for a wish wall for patrons?
That'd be
So
interesting.
Linda, one thing that I was just thinking is, we want the data to drive it. You can't squiggle out of data, but when we're talking, and Marissa said, I can tell you, I closed, there were no people in the library. So now all of a sudden, we backed ourselves into a corner with the data. So I think
Yeah.
we have to think, one thing that strikes me is when we took our tour of the library and there was the space in the back where the person had a sewing machine and crafting items, and it was,
Yes.
there are things that the staff is anxious to do for the community, and there are things that could drive the data.
Yeah.
So rather than saying, that it's rough, but rather than saying community is missing out because we're not open, but then when we look at the data, they weren't coming. There's something that we can take and expand upon and say, we have these things, we have these wishes from the community and from the staff, that if we were open later, we could get these in, and we will collect data to substantiate the decision we're making
Yeah.
to drive.
That room
I
at
like
one
that.
time housed a STEM program.
Yeah.
We had a volunteer who came in and did STEM stuff. with
And the reason we don't have
letters.
that data is because we haven't been able to do a survey, which we were promised we could do. So,
I read that already.
Yeah.
because that is a fact. We were promised we could do a survey, not just, I mean, it's one thing to get the library patrons what they want, but it's all the other people that are out there that aren't using the library. Those are the people we need to get feedback from. And we can't do that without, I mean, we can't each chip in $100 and pay for a survey. That's, I mean, Oregon City did a big survey, and I'm sure that cost a lot more than $1,000, that type of thing. So, but yes, I think some of the data should drive the data, but yes, a wish list is important as well,
But I hear a wish list from patrons, but I also heard on our tour that there's some staff with some energy that want to do things. Now, I don't know if that was during the day or in the late afternoons or what, but anything that gives people an opportunity to call the library.
I will say too, the staff want to be included in these decisions. They're so that's one of the reasons why I'm here right now, is because they want me to talk about them being a part of the conversation, because there's been so many things that have happened the past couple of years that right over every staff member. And when it affects all the staff, we want to be able to have a say in that. So
When you make a statement like that, it would be very good for us to know what kinds of things you're talking about, because none of us want that happening.
right, yeah, and I'm not saying you guys did anything. I'm
No,
just saying in
but
general.
we need to learn. And so that's definitely a conversation that we should continue.
Yes.
Absolutely.
What's the general feeling of the current staff? about opening for more hours? Because I'm kind of feeling like there's some tension there.
No, we absolutely want to open more hours. It is absolutely impossible to do that with the amount of staff that we have right now.
Okay.
And one of the things that kind of helps, I think, people understand is that we use on-calls a lot to supplement the fact that we don't have enough staff.
Which makes them not necessarily on calls. Yeah, okay.
And on-calls also can't work more than 19 hours a week. So, and when we have certain on-calls that are super available and other ones that are not available at all, it really kind of confuses things. And right now, so pre-COVID, it wasn't really a policy, it was more of like a safety rule where we would have 3 people to open the library and 3 people to close. So 2 people on the desks, 1 person in the back or just around to help out. Since COVID and reopening, we now have 2 openers and 2 closers. So we don't have someone in the back and someone helping out right now. And on Saturdays, we always supplement with an on-call to make sure not like all the staff don't just have desk time all the time. And right now, I will tell you, we're having a very difficult time getting everything that needs to be done with the amount of desk hours that every staff person is having. We have to keep in mind too that not every staff member is full-time. We only have a few full-time folks, and even me, you know, I'm doing like 4 jobs right now. I'm doing my supervisor job, I'm doing the director job, I'm doing the collection development one right now. I'm doing a million different things right now while also having desk hours. And so I will tell you, every staff member wants to open more. We want to be open later. We want to do more. It is not possible with the group that we have right now. The amount of people, I mean, this group is really hard working. We're all doing a lot, but you know, like I said, we had that bilingual librarian that we don't have anymore. And then we also have the 4 pages. All of that work was absorbed by everybody else that's currently here. And so everybody's at max capacity. I mean, I have people telling me all the time, like, you should delegate more to staff. I'm like, I can't do it. So everybody here really cares. We want to be available. That's why the conversation for extending hours is kind of being put by the wayside. We're talking more about shifting the hours, you know, instead of 9 to 6, 10 to 7. But then you have to keep in mind, we're not going to be hitting that 9 to 10 group that we were.
I'm leery too of fixing the problem by shifting you guys to different hours, which seems to say to the council, oh, everything's all right.
Yeah.
They're able to
We'll make it
manage the
work.
hours. I'd really rather, I hate the sink or swim thing, but really and truly, the problem is we have a staffing problem.
Yes.
And we have a
it's a budget
staffing problem that was
because
caused.
Staff requires money.
Yeah, well,
Every year costs go up, but
Yes.
that's the problem. So inflation has got us in partially too.
But that's part of the reason why I'm here. I really want to try to fix these issues, and I'm coming from a lot of experience both outside of the city and inside of the city. I do want to make things better, and I know that.
Well, this is really good information to have as we take a look at how we want to approach city council, because the issue comes down to money. It really, truly does.
Right, but we were given a presentation, if I'm remembering correctly, from Council Bangs, and he said that, at least in his understanding, there is money.
There is money.
There is more than enough, I think he said, even to, you know, take into consideration like an emergency. So I understand you
They
have to
don't
be
like letting
delicate
go
with
of
that,
it.
yes, but
Yes.
it's like, you know,
Yes.
I don't know how or if he can be a resource to us as we gather our information for this, but if it's there, I feel like that's an investment in the community that's absolutely worth it.
We are way over time. Yeah, we gotta go.
I
So
missed you all.
can
that's
somebody,
why.
can somebody make a motion to end the,
I'll second that.
everybody in favor, say aye. We'll see you all
Aye.
on November the 8th. Thank you.
I was just texting my husband to say, turn the oven on.
I don't mean to run that one.
Ah.
Pardon me? Yes, there'll be an email. We have to do
Okay.
that. Um, Walk up with me. Oh, which
Yeah.
button do we turn off?
It's the switch on the right-hand side.
Oh, off. Off. Yes. Thank you for all the stuff you did, Marissa. I really appreciate it.
Glad you're here doing